And the highest percentage scoring move and the most attempted move in parterre offense for freestyle is the gut wrench. Today we're going to work on a high gut wrench, a mid-level gut wrench, and a low-level gut wrench. And there's some important things to remember about the gut wrench. First of all, you have to keep your elbows in tight, you have to keep your chest on your opponent's back, and you have to keep steady pressure on your opponent. As we start the gut wrench today, we're going to work on the lock first. And ideally, we're going to start with a butterfly lock, and we're going to keep both elbows tight, and we're going to keep our elbows pinched in, and we're going to pull the opponent into us. And the reason we do this, we want to be able to have both elbows tight and be able to turn our opponent's hips one way or the other so we can switch directions. So the lock would be like this. Butterfly lock, right here. Elbows in tight. So you're able to pick your opponent up, and I could hold him here if I wanted to. Set him down, pick him up. One of the biggest problems in doing a gut wrench is if a person's elbows slip. And you can see if I'm in this position right here and I go to pick my opponent up, but my elbows are to the outside, he slips. So you have to pinch those elbows down, squeeze, and then pick your opponent up. Your elbows can't be away from your body. A couple drills that'll help you keep your lock tight, your elbows down, and your opponent pulled into your chest. So if you'll just lock around your opponent, pick him up 5 times. Okay, you switch, and you pick your opponent up and hold him up there for a 10 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, switch, you pick your opponent up. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if you'll get in a tripod and you get a gut wrench lock here, I want you to pick your feet up and switch directions. Don't slip on your lock. Keep your elbows in there tight. This time when you come over, step, pick your opponent up. And go back the other way. And pick him up. Good. As you can see, as they work these 2 drills, they have to keep their lock tight, they have to pull their opponent in tight, and there's no room between their chest and their opponent. All the space is taken up by pinching and pulling it in. Okay, as we start parterre offense, one of the first things I want to be able to do is read my opponent. If his hips are low, I anticipate him dropping down. If your opponent drops down flat, there's actually 5 directions he can go. He can move forward, backwards, to his right, to his left, or he can come up. If I'm good in parterre offense, I want to make sure that my opponent's not able to do that. The other thing that he's able to do right now is work on escapes or reversals, and I want to make sure I stop that. So when we get in parterre offense, when the referee blows the whistle, I want to stop all his directions. And one of the best ways to do that is get directly behind your opponent. When I make contact with my opponent, I'm going to bend down. I don't want to make contact from this position up here and leave a lot of room between him and me. I want to get down in this position, and I actually want to show the officials my hands because I don't want that official blowing the whistle until I'm ready to start. And sometimes you'll see quick whistles and they'll blow the whistle before I actually make contact. So I want to be able to control that. So I'm actually going to come down on my opponent, show the official the hands, and then I'm going to make contact. As soon as I make contact and he goes down flat, I'm going to cover his thighs in this position here. From here, I want to put a hand up by his shoulders so that he can't scoot forward. And I've got weight on him right here. So in this position right now, I've countered all the opportunities for him to move. He's not able to go forward. He can't move to his right. He can't move left. And I'm going to keep his hips down. As we work on the gut wrench today, there's going to be two different directions that I'm going to actually try to take my opponent. One, when he has a good defensive position here, he's up on his hands and he knows I have to turn his hips. When I commit to one side or the other, he's going to turn his hip down and look back into the turn a little bit in this direction. For me to turn him, one way that I'll do that is to drive him and lift his hips up. As I lift his hips up, I'm going to try to collapse his elbow down. And once I have an elbow down, then I'll continue to drive my shoulder into the back of his shoulder blade, and I'll continue on and take a gut wrench left. The other option that I have in doing a gut wrench, and we'll work both styles today, is to just turn my opponent's hips. When he gets in such a good defensive position and you're trying to lift his hips and drive the shoulder down, sometimes you can switch directions, and rather than drive and break the shoulder down, you're just going to turn his hips in this direction. But understand, for me to turn him in a gut wrench, I have to turn his hips. For me to be able to turn his hips, my chest has to stay on my opponent's back. My lock can't slip. If my elbow slips out at all, then I'm going to lose the pressure that I need that turns the hips. Right? The first technique we're going to work on with this gut wrench is a mid-level gut wrench, and I'm going to get a butterfly lock so that he wouldn't know which direction I'm going to go. Remember that 95% of all gut wrenches go away from the head. So the first thing I want to do is keep my head right in the middle of his back. I want to keep the lock all on the same side, and I want to straddle him so that he doesn't know which direction I'm going to go. As I start to drive, I'll leave one foot between his legs and one foot will go to the outside, because I'm going to try to load him up and pull his hips into my hips. As I do this, I want to keep my chest tight to my opponent's back. Again, my lock cannot slip, and I don't want his hips to get out of my lap. Right? One of the techniques that you can use to get a gut wrench lock is to hook on your opponent's arm, slide underneath. Now I have the room and I have my lock. For me to complete my lock, I want to put my knee in between my opponent's legs and pull my hands back down in this position. From here, I'm going to tripod up so that I keep this tight. I'm driving. I'm going to step up above the knee, step to the outside, and then my left shoulder right here is going to drive on this and try to break this arm down here. I break him down into this position. I'm still tight. Everything's tight. And I'm going to load him up. My feet are down. He's between my legs. I don't want him over this leg here. If he steps over this leg, he can hip heist and throw his legs over and end up on top. So I want to make sure I keep my legs between his legs. Here. Knees are pointed up. From this position right here, I'm going to throw my arms, keep this tight, pop my hips. Here.